In Genesis chapter 13, a decision is going to be made, and it turns out to be a poor decision, a decision that opens the door for a myriad of problems. Here's the context. Abram and his nephew Lot both have an abundance of possessions, including huge flocks and herds, but the land cannot support both of them. Thus, conflict develops. Abram, a man of faith, wisely proposes a solution. They need to go different directions. Secure in God's promises, Abram allows Lot to choose the direction. Abram is trusting God with his future. Here's what it says in verses 10 and 11. And Lot lifted his eyes and saw the plain of Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere, before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt as you go toward Zoar. Then Lot chose for himself all the plain of Jordan, and Lot journeyed east, and they separated from each other. So Lot makes a decision based on what he sees. He pitches his tent near Sodom, which happens to be a very unwise thing to do. For here's what Scripture says about Sodom in verse 13. But the men of Sodom were exceedingly wicked and sinful against the Lord. So here's the problem. Sodom is a very wicked, sinful city. And it turns out that Lot will soon be drawn into the wickedness of Sodom. Lot's decision appears to be good, and yet it will yield disastrous results. Lot is walking by sight, whereas Abram is walking by faith. Now, there's an obvious lesson for the reader. Beware of walking by sight. Something may look good, remember the apple in the garden, and yet we fail to see the costly, hidden price tag. Let's be those who walk by faith, not by sight, who when faced with a decision purpose to pray, asking God for wisdom to discern the path that will bring him the most glory. And as per James chapter 1, he will give us wisdom as we ask with trusting faith. Let's be those who purpose to take steps forward only with the peace of God, as opposed to the internal strife that tends to accompany self-effort, self-direction, and bad decisions. Let's be those who are open to good counsel from mature believers. And finally, let's be those who take circumstances into account, but who steer clear of relying solely on circumstances. Let's be like Abram, who trusted in God to lead him step by step. Thanks for listening.